we generally speak less and we chant more. So I thought it would be a good chance for us to chant a little bit more than we usually used to. There is a nice shloka from Srimad Bhagavatam, Prabhu's and Mataji's, which is something for us to take back and think about. It is in the 9th canto, 19th chapter, and I think it is in the 20th verse. Yes, the 20th verse. I'm just going to chant the verse, and if you can follow, that'll be fine. If you have it on your devices, that would be good. And then we can look at what the shastras tell us and what message we can take back from the Lord today. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. I'll just chant the verse first. It's a bit long, so maybe you just hear it. Teni kapara gupatir abhipatya sarve dvandvam varutam ibapatti ratasvayodhai jagnur drumai girigadeshu bir angadaladhyaha sita birmarsha hatamangala ravaneshan. Tenir kapara gupatir abhipatya sarve dvandvam varutam ibapatti ratasvayodhai jagnur drumai girigadeshu bir angadhadhyaha sita birmarsha hatamang galaravaneshan. Teni kapara gupatir abhipatya sarve dvandvam varutam ibapatti rathashvayodhai jagnur drumai girigadeshu bir angadhadhyaha sita bimarsha hatamang galaravaneshan. You can repeat the translation. Angada and the other commanders of the soldiers of Ramachandra faced the elephants, infantry, horses, and chariots of the enemy and hurled against them big trees, mountain peaks, clubs, and arrows. Thus the soldiers of Lord Ramachandra killed Ravana's soldiers, who had lost all good fortune because Ravana had been condemned by the anger of Mother Sita. Please hear the purport. The soldiers Lord Ramachandra recruited in the jungle were all monkeys and did not have proper equipment with which to fight the soldiers of Ravana. For Ravana's soldiers were equipped with weapons of modern warfare, whereas the monkeys could only throw stones, mountain peaks, and trees. It was only Lord Ramachandra and Lakshmana who shot some arrows. But because the soldiers of Ravana were condemned by the curse of Mother Sita, the monkeys were able to kill them simply by throwing stones and trees. There are two kinds of strengths, Daiva and Puruṣākāra. Daiva refers to the strength achieved from the transcendence, and Puruṣākāra refers to the strength organized by one's own intelligence and power. Transcendental power is always superior to the power of the materialist. Depending on the mercy of the Supreme Lord, one must fight one's enemies, even though one may not be equipped with modern weapons. Therefore, Krishna instructed Arjuna, Mam anusmara yudhyacha. Think of me and fight. We should fight our enemy to the best of our ability. And for victory, we must depend on the mercy of the Supreme Personality of Godhead. Jai Shri Prabhupada ki. Sometimes we may be thinking, why are the Acharyas in Srimad Bhagavatam telling us to fight with enemies, when the entire point of spiritual life is to not see anyone as an enemy, right? So that question is very often asked, and I should dispense with that question first. When Shastras tell us that we should fight our enemy, Shastras also tell us that the greatest enemy that we have is actually our mind. The mind is the greatest enemy of the living entity. There is no external enemy that we have actually, because all our problems don't come from others. They actually come from how our mind receives these problems. That is the truth. And that is the science of Bhagavad Gita and Srimad Bhagavatam. The Shastras also tell us that we have 6 enemies. We have Kama, Krodha, Mada, Moha, Matsarya, and Bhaya. These are all enemies that we have every day. And we have to counter them and fight them every day. Sometimes they win, sometimes we may win. But these enemies are lust, anger, intoxication, illusion, envy. And the end result of all this is fear. It is fear. So therefore, when we talk about the battle between Ravana and Ram, when we talk about the battle between the Pandavas and the Kauravas, we should also understand that the context to the battle is very important. The Pandavas represented all the virtues of devotees. They were actually very much in control of their senses. Even though the Pandavas were put into exile and they suffered so much, we will understand from the Mahabharata and the Shastras that never once did they blame anyone for their situation. And least of all did they blame Krishna. Never. Why? Because they always saw the hand of Krishna in every given situation. This is the mood of a devotee. Demons like Ravana are the opposite. Demons like Ravana only think that the source of their power is themselves. And therefore they become very proud of who they are. But they don't realize that though they seem to be conquering the whole world, their minds have conquered themselves. They are enemies, they are their strongest enemies, they are servants. Ravana was a servant to his mind. Ravana was a servant to his lust for Mother Sita. Ravana was a servant of his anger, his intoxication, his illusion, his envy, and his fear. All these 6 enemies actually conquered Ravana, if you think about it. Ravana ran after Mother Sita, even though he already had a chaste wife, Mandodari. He did not need anyone else because she had all the qualities that Mother Sita had. Ramayana tells us that. And yet, because he was driven by lust, the need to grab something that doesn't belong to you is a very strong materialistic tendency. In the name of acquisition, we keep growing our lust. We keep saying in the name of personal ambition, I must get this, I must get that, I must get this. And that is the beginning of the end. Because we cannot sleep until we gather something. And the best part is, because we are driven by lust, like Ravana was, we don't have any understanding that whatever that we are acquiring does not even belong to us. If it belonged to us, there wouldn't be a need to acquire it in the first place, because it would be ours. And if it was ours, then there would be no need for us to be separated from it either by time or death. You realize in this world there are 2 great separators between us and all that we think belongs to us. One is the influence of time, Kala. Kala always comes between us and something which we think belongs to us. Either by deterioration of your body, deterioration of something that you have, whatever that you had when you were very young almost always never belongs to you till now. It doesn't. So the first enemy that Ravana had to conquer was lust, but he was conquered by lust. He was conquered by lust. The second enemy was anger. Ravana was filled with anger. He was driven by anger. You see that he was not calm. He tried to be calm. The irony in Ramayana was that he dressed up as a mendicant and a sannyasi. And he came to Mother Sita, looking very sadhu and looking very calm. But he was anything but that. And that's an important lesson for all of us. We may be wearing dhoti, kurta, tilak and everything. But what is more important is our state of consciousness. If we are driven by lust and anger, if we are very quickly angry with things or people, then we are like the Ravanas and the Kamsas and the Hiranyakashipus of the world. So Ravana's anger was driving him, and that anger was fueled by lust. So there's a connection between lust and anger. The third enemy that Ravana could not conquer was intoxication. Intoxication just doesn't mean liquor and anything which is intoxicating potentially. But more importantly, intoxication, the effect of intoxication is that we lose our common sense. You have seen people who become drunk, they don't know what they are doing, they don't know how to discriminate between right and wrong. So when we become intoxicated by power, when we become intoxicated by prestige, by our wealth, maybe by even our intelligence or some material opulence that we have, the challenge is that we lose the ability to discriminate between what should be purposeful and what should not be used in life. This is the challenge. Ravana was given so much good advice by Vidura, his brother, and he told him so many times, give up Sita. She doesn't belong to you. She is the consort of Ram. She is eternally with Ram. If you take something that doesn't belong to you, it will have to leave you. It will leave you. And if you do this, you will meet your death. Death will come to you. And he didn't listen because he was intoxicated by his power. Sometimes we're intoxicated by our pride. We think we know everything, so why should we listen to someone? Why should we listen to someone? Ravana was like that. And eventually he threw out Vidura. The only person in his kingdom who was giving him good advice, he threw him out. Sometimes you have met people like that, right? They receive very good advice, and those people they reject. All the useless people who don't give them any good advice, they want to keep them with. So therefore, lust, anger, intoxication. And when you have these three, then the fourth enemy automatically manifests. It is illusion. Illusion. We are illusioned by what we think is reality, but it is not reality. Bhagavatam says that which is reality is actually our eternal constitutional relationship with Krishna. That is the reality. We have no eternal relationship with anyone or anything in this material world. Nothing. All of us are not, we are only eternally connected by the fact that we are all spirit souls and we are connected to Krishna. We are not eternally connected by body. We may have children, we may have husbands, wives, but we had many wives and husbands in previous lives also. And we don't remember them. And today we think we will remember our wives and husbands and children, but when we die, we will not remember them too. It won't be like that. So therefore, illusion is the state of mind that comes when one cannot control one's lust, anger, and intoxication. Then illusion sets in. And once illusion is there, anyone who gives us good advice, anything that tries to take something away from us, we experience the fifth enemy, and that is envy. Ravana was so envious of Lord Rama. Actually, he did not even know who Lord Rama was. If you read Ramayana, actually Rama did not know who Ravana was because he was looking all over for him. And Ravana did not know Rama. They did not even know each other. But Rama was always a well-wisher of every living entity, including Ravana. There is a famous point in Ramayana where Lanka has been conquered and Ravana has been killed, and Lord Ram does a very unusual thing. Normally when a king conquers a land, he becomes the king of that land, isn't it? But he did not do that. He didn't do that at all. He plays Vibhishana. He plays Vibhishana, the brother of Ravana. Sorry, I kept saying Vidura just now, but I meant Vibhishana. I was thinking of Mahabharata. So he plays Vibhishana as his brother, but he placed him as the king of Lanka. Now that's a very important thing. And Vibhishana came to Rama and asked him a very important question. He asked Lord Ram, Lord Ram, you're so kind to me that even though I don't deserve anything, I have become the king of Lanka. If Ravana had surrendered to you, what would you have given him? And Rama says, if Ravana had surrendered to me, I would have given him Ayodhya. That is what I would have done. So there is no envy in Lord Ram's heart. The Supreme Personality of Godhead, he is never envious of anyone. That is why he is Krishna. And a devotee of the Lord is never envious of anyone. If someone is doing well, we are very happy for them. If someone is doing extremely amazingly well, and we are in the same field, for example, instead of becoming envious of them, we wish them well. We try to learn from them. Then we conquer this enemy. And the last enemy that is very difficult And it is the culmination of all 5 enemies, is the enemy of fear. Actually, the reason why there is fear in this material world is because there is lust, there is anger, there is intoxication, there is envy and illusion. Sometimes people think fear is just, it's not a bad thing. I'm just fearful of a situation. But very often we fear because of the lack of faith that we have in Krishna. This is very important. A devotee's fear is very different from a materialistic fear. Ravana's fear was he will lose everything. Devotee's fear is that they will lose remembrance of Krishna. There is a difference. So when a devotee is fearful of losing Krishna, the devotee will conquer lust, anger. He will conquer intoxication, illusion and envy. Because he doesn't want to lose Krishna. Devaki Mata, before Krishna came into this world, and when Krishna appeared in this world, Devaki became very afraid. But her fear was not the fear of the materialists, like Kamsa, for example, was very fearful of the 8th child of Devaki. Devaki was fearing that somehow or another she will lose the remembrance of Krishna, or she will lose Krishna as her child. That mood is a mood of a devotee. The Vrindavan residents, they are always living in separation from Krishna. In the morning they see Krishna for a while, and then Krishna goes off for the rest of the day in the forest. And the gopis and everybody else, they are in separation. They are fearful that they will lose Krishna. But that fear is not the fear of this material world. In the material world, even the devatas are fearful. Bhaya. Why? Because they are afraid that whatever that they are lusting for, whatever that they have become intoxicated with, whatever that they think belongs to them, they think they are going to lose it. That fear is also an enemy of the mind. So why am I bringing this point up? Is because in this shloka, at the last point, Srila Prabhupada says that we should be like Arjuna. Arjuna, and he quotes a verse from Bhagavad Gita, it's 8.7 of Bhagavad Gita. Tasmad sarveshu kaleshu mam anusmara yudhyacha. So Krishna tells Arjuna a very practical point. He says that at all times, tasmad sarveshu kaleshu, you please remember me, and at the same time, you fight for me. Krishna told Arjuna to fight the battle of Kurukshetra. Arjuna did not fight the battle of Kurukshetra on his own terms. He was not whimsical about that battle. He was guided by the principle of what Krishna wants is what I will do. This is very important. And now this brings us to the most important point in this shloka and the verse. Prabhupada makes a beautiful point in Ramayana that sometimes we forget. The warfare itself. Actually, if you look at Lord Rama's army, they were very primitive in their weapons, right? They had no arrows. Prabhupada says very clearly, actually only 2-3 persons were shooting arrows. But Ravana's army, if you read Ramayana, they were very highly skilled, right? They had weapons. They had the closest you have to metal things that we have today, right? So quite modern warfare actually. And they were very advanced in strategy and everything, very much like the Pandavas and Kauravas in Mahabharata. The Pandava army was not as big as the Kaurava army. And the Kaurava had Bhishma and great generals who were brilliant strategists. So therefore, on paper, right, a military expert would say that the Kauravas should win the war. On paper, a military expert would say that the monkeys and the monkey army led by Lord Ram, they should have lost. Because Ravana was very powerful. And don't forget, Ravana also had sorcerers with him. He himself was very powerful sorcerer. His brother Mahi Ravana was a sorcerer. Indrajit was also very powerful in sorcery. Like that, they had so many people in that way. And yet, the monkeys only had weapons like what? They had stones, they had branches. A few of them were very powerful. They were throwing trees. But that's it. That was the monkey army. And yet, Srila Prabhupada says that the monkey army conquered the Lanka army. Why? Because there are 2 different sources of power. One source of power, Prabhupada says, is Daiva. Daiva means power coming from Krishna. This is a very important point. It is power that is coming from Krishna. When power is given by Krishna, that power, Bhagavatam tells us, becomes very, very powerful. When Krishna decides that something must happen, then he gives you the power to make it happen. A very good example in Bhagavatam is the example between Indra fighting the battle with Vritrasur. Vritrasur was a demon, but actually he was a devotee in the form of a demon. Indra, of course, is a devata, and he's actually a great devotee of the Lord. So it was a very unusual episode between 2 actually devotees. But Krishna's plan was Vritrasur will die on the battlefield. And when Vritrasur and Indra start to fight on the battlefield, for a while it appears like Vritrasur is going to win because he was much more powerful. And he's also a devotee. And his weapons were so invincible that the Devatas were running everywhere. At one point, Indra throws his mace at him. And the mace is supposed to be very powerful. But Bhagavatam tells us Vritrasur catches the mace like an elephant catches garlands. For an elephant, garland is nothing. Even for us, if someone threw a garland at you, you can't say he assaulted me with a garland. People will laugh, There's no pain from a garland. In the same way, right, for Vritrasur, catching the mace was nothing. It was nothing. He threw back the mace at Indra. And the mace was so powerful, it struck Indra's elephant Airavata on the face. And the elephant fell back 14 yards, Bhagavatam tells us. And Indra fell with the elephant. And at that point of time, Indra became completely disillusioned. He became very morose. And he thought, even though Krishna has blessed me, and even though Krishna has told me I will win the battle, but it appears like I will lose. And then Vritrasur started speaking to Indra. And Vritrasur told him something very nice. Nanu esha vajra tavasakra tejitaha harer dadichi tapasa tacheditaha tenaiva shatrun jahi vishwayantrito yatra harihi vijaya shri gunastataha. This verse actually comes in the 6th canto, 11th chapter, 20th verse, 6, 11, 20. And the translation is very beautiful. In the translation, Vritrasur is saying, "O Indra, the thunderbolt that you are now carrying with you," Indra had another weapon, the thunderbolt. He was going to release it. That thunderbolt has actually been built from the bones of a great devotee of the Lord known as sage Dadichi. And Indra was given that instruction from Krishna himself. Get the bones from the sage and make this weapon. With this weapon, you will kill Vritrasur. You will be powerful. Now, Vritrasur is reminding Indra and telling him, by the way, Indra, you have a thunderbolt. And then that thunderbolt has been empowered to kill me. Because it has been made by the blessings of Vishnu and by the strength of a great devotee, Dadichi. Therefore, since you have come here to kill me in accordance with Vishnu's order, there is no doubt that I shall be killed. Can you imagine this? This is Vritrasur himself. He's saying there's no doubt, I will be killed. Why? Because Krishna has blessed you with victory, opulence, and all the good qualities. So rest assured. When Indra heard this, Indra became encouraged. It took an enemy to encourage Indra. And Indra got up and said, Vritrasur, I have great respect for you. Let's fight now. And they began fighting. You see? So in those days, you will see that when they fought in Vedic culture, fighting was never personal. Right? The Pandavas and Kauravas, they would fight all day. In the night, they would go to each other's camps. They wouldn't beat each other up in the camps. They would welcome each other. Today, we can't even see someone we don't like. We don't even smile at them. We are so personal about everything that there is no discrimination between what is happening on a battlefield and what happens outside the battlefield. So we have really degraded in Kali Yuga in our mentality. Everything is personal. Oh, he said this to me, he said that to me. And therefore, we become conquered by the 6 enemies of the mind. Because we are lusty for adoration. We are lusty because we want people to always like us. And we always think that everyone is out to get us. But in this world, it was not like that. So Indra realized that he had been actually guaranteed victory. And that victory is Daiva. Right? That victory, the source of power Indra got is actually Daiva. It is transcendental power. So the more we are connected to Laddu Gopal, the more we are connected to Krishna by chanting his names. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. The more we are connected to him because we are taking prasadam, for example. We don't eat anything which is not offered to Krishna. We are very careful to live our lives around Krishna. We read about Krishna. We chant his names. then we are guided by Daiva. If we are not, the monkeys were all devotees of Lord Ram. They were great devotees of Lord Ram. Hanumanji, Angada, Sugriva, they were all great devotees. Do you know when they were building the bridge to Lanka, right? They were not engineers, They had no MTech, they had no BTech, nothing. They had no qualifications. When Lord Ram told them in the night, build a bridge, it must be ready by morning, all they did was they got huge boulders and they started throwing them into the ocean. But they threw them by chanting Lord Ram's names, or they wrote Lord Ram's names on the stones and the rocks. And the rocks floated. They never sank. When Lord Ram came out to see how the construction was going, he was very surprised. How is it possible that these rocks are floating? So he picked up a rock and he threw it into the water and the rock sank. And Lord Ram was thinking, how come I'm throwing a rock and it is sinking? But the monkeys are throwing the rocks and they are floating. And Hanumanji told him, my Lord, that is because we have more faith in your names than even you have faith in your names. This is the greatness of the devotion of the monkeys. And that is why they were guided by Daiva, the transcendental power of Krishna. Ravana was the opposite. Ravana thought that his power was his. It's my hard work, I'm a self-made man, I've accumulated everything, I don't need God. What has God done for me? What has anybody done for me? That's typical Ravana mentality. And if you think about it, in this world today, I think we have more Ravanas than that time. Many of us have the Ravana mentality. I'm a self-made person, I don't need God. But we don't realize if you're so self-made and everything belongs to you, why is it that when you die, you don't take things with you? You can't even take your sharir. And we are talking about acquisitions and assets. It's foolishness. That's why we have not conquered the 6 enemies of the mind. So Ravana's power was not Daiva. It is the opposite of Daiva. And therefore, we must understand that whenever we see us, any one of us, when we are doing something wonderful, maybe we sing well, maybe we cook well, maybe we communicate well, maybe we're doing well in our work, we should understand that this is coming from the blessings of the Lord. It is coming from His transcendental power. I end by telling you one last point. Arjuna is one of the greatest warriors the world has ever known. And his fame is spread far and wide. But at the end of the Mahabharata war, when the Pandavas were victorious and the Kauravas were vanquished, Arjuna realized one very important thing. He realized that his powers had left him. It had been revoked from him. At the end of the Mahabharata war, there was no need for Arjuna to have those powers. And therefore, he lost those powers. And therefore, the evidence of it is actually in an episode when the queens of Dwarka were being kidnapped by ordinary men, Arjuna tried to save them, but he realized that he could not. Because the power that he thought was his actually belonged to Krishna. So then in 1:15:21 of Srimad Bhagavatam, he says a very important point that we should take with us today. Tadvai danus sa isava saratahayaste soham rati nripratayo yata anamanti sarvan shanena tarabud ashad ishariktam basman hutam kuhukariddham Ivapta Asyam. And so the translation is very beautiful. Arjuna is speaking to Yudhishthira Maharaj. And he says, my dear Yudhishthira, I have the very same Gandiva bow. His famous Gandiva bow. I have the very same arrows. I have the same chariot that I was drawing with the same horses that I had in the Mahabharata war. And I was offered so much respects because of all my power. But in the absence of Krishna, right now, because Krishna had departed from this material world, in the absence of Lord Krishna, all of them, my arrows, my chariot, myself, the same Arjuna that I am, we have all lost at a moment's notice the potency that we had. And therefore, even a great devotee of the Lord is dependent ultimately on the transcendental strength and power of the Lord. The only difference between Ravana and the monkeys was, the monkeys were humble enough to acknowledge that whatever they have is coming from Krishna and Lord Rama. So we also must acknowledge that. Whatever success that we have is really, really Krishna's mercy. Whatever failure that we go through, we must also see the hand of Krishna. Because from failure, so many things we can learn. From reverses, our faith will grow strong. When difficult times come, you will realize you spend more time praying, isn't it? That is His mercy. Otherwise, normal days, how often do we pray with the urgency that we pray when we have an emergency? Hardly we do that. That shows the level of our love for someone. If you really love someone every day with the same intensity, you will love them. But unfortunately, we don't have that love. Our love is very conditional. If Krishna is kind, okay, fine, He's there. But if He's not there, never mind, I'll take care of my things. But when emergency comes, I will turn to Krishna. So that is not the way to live life. So let us remember one very important point. Na chasya na chiddaito, na dvesha na cha bandavaha, avisati apramato asau, pramattam janam antakrit. It is spoken by Krishna as Kapila Dev to his mother in 3:29:39 of Srimad Bhagavatam. And this is a very nice point. Kapila Dev says, no one is dear to Krishna, nor is anyone his friend or enemy. Krishna is samahom sarva bhuteshu. He's equal to all. So nobody is especially dear, and no one is his friend, neither is anyone enemy. But He gives inspiration to those who have not forgotten Him, and He destroys those who have. How does He destroy those who have? By the power of death. Because when you cannot remember Krishna, then you will keep coming back into this material world of birth, and death. Remembrance of Krishna frees you from this world, but forgetfulness of Krishna will keep you in this world. So this is why the monkeys were victorious. And Mother Sita is the heightened emblem of purity in devotion to Krishna. Which is why in that shloka that we read today, at the end of it, Shukadev Goswami says that this battle against Ravana was not won by the monkeys because they only had very bad weapons. It was won because the purity of Sita was challenged by Ravana. The chastity of Sita was challenged by Ravana. The day Ravana took Sita and the day Sita was touched, that day Ravana's death had begun. Everything else was functional. Everything else was a formality. But ultimately, when one touches purity with lust, illusion, anger, envy, and fear, then we are the ones who will suffer. So we must be very careful. Mother Sita is like Lakshmi Devi. She brings spiritual prosperity to us. But don't take her selfishly away from Lord Vishnu or Lord Rama. If you want to pray, pray to them. Rama will always be with Sita eternally, and Sita is eternally with Lord Rama. Ravana wanted to take Sita away from Lord Rama. He refused to acknowledge Lord Rama, but he wanted Sita for himself. That is not the way of devotional service. If we want Lakshmi Devi, we must pray to Lord Narayana. If we want Srimati Radharani, we must always chant Krishna's names. And by chanting Krishna's names, Srimati Radharani becomes happy with us, and she opens the door for ourselves to enter into the realm of serving Krishna. And today is Ekadashi, so it's so auspicious that we remember these points. Please take these points home and think about it. Every time you're doing well, you have a power, you have a gift, you have a talent. Remember, the source of it is Krishna. It is not your own. And the moment you remember that, it really is Krishna's. But the moment you think that belongs to you, then all the enemies of the mind will come. And you will not be happy. Neither will you be peaceful. Ravana never slept well. Kamsa never slept well. All the demons in Bhagavatam and Ramayana, they suffered from insomnia. They could never sleep because they were always worried that whatever they had, they were going to lose. A devotee sleeps very well because the devotee knows that whatever he or she has is not theirs to begin with. And therefore it is up to Krishna whether they wake up in the morning and it is there, or they wake up in the morning and it is not there. That is how a devotee is peaceful. The devotee may have other challenges in life, but this is not a challenge for them. This is a gift for them. So, are there any questions? Are there any comments? Any thoughts? Gaur Gandhi Prabhu, when I see you, I know you have a question. Please.
Thank you for the way you started
Thank you, Guru.
About the heavenly positions, right, and things that do not belong to us.
Yes.
Can be anyway taken away from us.
Yes, Prabhu.
That belongs to us are anyway ours.
Yes.
So I was just thinking about basically 2 or 3 points on this one.
Yes.
About what actually belongs to us humanly, right? The positions, any material positions can anyway be taken away.
Yeah, material positions can be taken.
Even our knowledge is taken away after some time.
Yes.
Because you may be alive, but the knowledge may, because memory, your thinking power.
That can go.
That can also go.
Yes. Yes.
Then one thing that remains with person is his own karma. That one has to either enjoy it or to suffer because of it.
Yes.
Right. So that is one thing. Then second point what you mentioned, sorry, I'm about things that belong to you, right? So it is actually related to the Ishopanishad's first verse about
Isha Vasya Midam
So
Sarvam.
what actually belongs to us, we should take it, and what does not belong to you,
Yeah. It is beyond our quota.
beyond our quota.
Yes.
Always take what belongs to us.
Yes. Yes.
Right, and then enjoy. What is our own color, we can actually enjoy whatever.
Yes.
And maybe third point is about the tendency to take away things that belong to us. Maybe that tendency we can relinquish by charity.
Charity is very helpful, Prabhu. But I think what we should really have in our mind is actually nothing belongs to us. Even that which is given to us is given on borrowed time, actually. That is a safer way to look at that. Nothing really belongs to us. Even in Ishavasya Midam Sarvam, that is given to us it's like borrowed. I'm giving you this for now, that's your quota. But after that, it has to leave us also. So actually nothing belongs to us. Even our karmas, they come and go, and they come and go according to our bodies, according to our actions. The only thing that's eternal is our soul. That is the only thing that we have. And the only thing that we can actually claim is bhakti. Because bhakti is our birthright. Everything else will eventually go. Karmas may look like they belong to us, but when pralaya comes and dissolution comes, even karma goes. It may come back again later, but eventually it has to go. So for a devotee, everything Srila Prabhupada says, especially in that verse that I quoted, the last verse, we are all living on borrowed time. Everything that we have is borrowed. Think of it as you didn't buy a book, but you went to library and borrowed a book. Now you may hold it for a while, but eventually there's a time limit and you have to give it back. I never gave back a library book. I still have it for years and I don't know what's going to happen to me. I don't know what the fine is, but there will be some consequences if you think you can keep something which doesn't belong to you. So I think approaching it that way is much clearer, because then it becomes very clear that whatever that is given to us, even in material world as our quota, is also borrowed, because it comes from Krishna. Nothing we have created, Prabhu. Therefore, nothing belongs to us. Nothing we can claim to be ours, because nothing we have created either. So nothing belongs to us actually. Nothing.
So karma is an account of what we have, but bhakti is what we are going to get.
Bhakti is our asset. Karma is our debit. If you think about it, karma is a debit. Because every action that we take in this world, which is away from Krishna, is karma. Every action that we take in this world, which is with Krishna, is our karma. It is free of karma. So we have to decide now how we want to behave. You see the point, Gurkanti Prabhu? That is the difference, you see. In that way, it becomes very simple. Otherwise, it becomes very complicated. Because we still think we have some assets, you see. But we don't. We really don't. It's easier, it's more peaceful. Suddenly the mind becomes free. Okay, fine. I'm really a pauper. Now I should just take up devotional service and put all my effort and assets and time and effort into that. Because really everything else is transitory. It will leave. It will leave. Is that helpful, Prabhu? Mm-hmm. Yes, Mataji.
Why is Krishna always so lenient with Indra?
Why is Krishna always so lenient with Indra?
I cannot remember the name of the rishi, but you told us a story in Palya's house where he disguised himself and was taken over by lust, and then the rishi's wife he took one.
Yeah, that was, which one was that? Ahalya. Ahalya.
And then
Yeah.
even what he did in Govardhan.
Yes.
So he's been doing so many mistakes.
Yeah.
Why did he do that?
Yes. Okay, so that's a good question. I'll give you a straightforward answer. In Bhagavatam, first of all, Indra is a Devata. And Indra, Devata, is a position. It's a position. Okay, it's not a person. So, if someone becomes very qualified in this universe, Krishna can appoint that person to take up a Devata position. So, it is not the same Indra who's everywhere. Personalities who reach a certain position get promoted, they take care of certain affairs of the universe, it could be a different person. But the point I think you're trying to put across is, if you claim to be a devotee, which Indra is in many senses, then why do you keep doing things that you should not do? Because the devotional service that Indra is doing is not considered to be pure devotional service. It's mixed devotional service. And actually, what Indra is doing is very reminiscent of all of us. That's why Indra in Bhagavatam is an important character, because he represents our challenge very often. Our challenge is one day we are really good devotees, another day we will do things we should never do. But again we will come back to Krishna, Mataji, and we never leave Krishna. Indra does so much of nonsense, but eventually he comes back to Krishna. So the point is, in mixed devotional service, you can perform devotional service, but you are still riddled by the 6 enemies of the mind. And sometimes Indra is overtaken by lust, sometimes anger, sometimes envy. But the important consideration is, he never loses sight that he must go back to Krishna. And for us, the take home is, even if we make mistakes in devotional service, Krishna is so kind that he always gives us a space to come back and improve and become better. So while we may highlight the mistakes of Indra, let's not forget that Indra is doing a great job. He's also doing his services to Krishna. But from time to time, he has these challenges. And many devotees here also are doing something for Krishna, but they also make mistakes. So as devotees, we should also be forgiving. We should understand that as long as you're on the path of bhakti, that is most important. Other things may come and go, but eventually bhakti will purify you. Is that helpful? Otherwise, there's no chance for 90% of us. We'll never make it to pure devotional service. Let's chant Krishna's names. A good way to end our day together.